from projects to products. Cultural organizations and creative enterprises quite often face a problem to find which operational models they're operating in. We can talk about three different models. The first one is the one which is based on projects. These are so-called projects-based organizations. Quite often, especially small organizations, cultural organizations, they are working with a number of projects. So they seek funding from the grant givers or sponsors, and then they run the project, deliver the project, and then they look for another one. Or they may have several such projects running off in parallel simultaneously. So this is a typical mode of projects-based organizations. Then there is a second type. Those who are more product-based organizations, products or services. That would be your advertisement agencies or your cinema production companies, or there can be theater production companies, those who are delivering the product. So they are filming one film after another, they are providing service for delivery, for producing advertisement, or let's say even the fashion designers. You know, they do the collections, and this is like a product that every half a year you would expect a new collection coming on the market. So, and they have some products to sell or services to sell, and they are operating on the market. They have business processes which are arranged and are catered for delivering of these products and services. And then there is a third type of operations that the cultural organizations and creative enterprises might use. This is a mixed use, which is when you have a bit of products to sell on the market and services, and then you also run some projects. In fact, you might think about the same theater production companies. They might have regular shows that they are putting in for customers, for clients in the theater in the city. But then they have a project to design and to develop a new production. So for them, it's a project that they are running. So what is the project? Let's reiterate or remind ourselves. Projects is a set of activities which are limited in time, limited in resources, and have clear outputs. So, and they're not repeatable. So this set of activities, it's once off in a way. Projects might be similar, they might resemble each other, but usually each project is unique. On the other hand, service and product, it's something which is pretty much the same or slightly adjusted, and you can buy again and again, or you can sell over and over. And so what are the challenges that organizations are facing between these three different modes? Organizations which are project-based quite often face a challenge how to move into products and services. So you used to run after money in order to deliver projects. One project, another, next one, but then you don't have a service, a product that you can sell all over and over. On the other hand, if we look at the organizations, especially companies, creative enterprises, which are selling products and projects, they quite often neglect this element that they need projects, because they, for instance, need to improve their internal processes. Let's say they need to revamp their website, and it's a once-off project for them to do. So they have another slightly different challenge. So how to deal with these challenges? What could be advice here? That's what we look now into. So the first challenge that organizations quite often are facing is with the products and projects is distinguishing between the two. Make sure that you understand that definition of project that's been mentioned above, that it's a set of activities limited in time, with limited resources and with clear outputs. So map what do you have that could be understood as project, what you are currently running. Again, if you have product and service, you probably know what your product and service is. But for some organizations, especially project-based, you might not understand, but in fact you are delivering service. Let's say several sponsors approached you to help them curate a program for their cultural events. You might think that it's a project, but in fact what you're doing, you're delivering the service for your clients, sponsors, who want curation services for music activities or events from them. So make sure that you understand what products and services you're already delivering, or what projects you have in-house, what projects you're already running and managing. So map products and services, map projects. The second challenge that cultural organizations and creative enterprises are facing is when there are too many projects. You run around and here project, there project, here small one, here big one, then at some stage it can become slightly overwhelming and messy because you don't know who's responsible for which project, even though all of your colleagues are project managers at the same time. So how to deal with this mess? There is a great concept, it's a project portfolio. You map all your projects and then you arrange them in the portfolio. You look which projects are internal ones, so the projects which are doing with your own resources to improve your institutional capacity. In a simple term, in order to make your operations better. So you do your website, or you do reorganization of your office, because it can take 3 months and lots of resources to do that. And then you also have external projects, those who are receiving funding from external sources, either from grants or from sponsors, or maybe you're even charging audiences for that, or mix of the above. So they might have different financial models by themselves. So what are these projects, and are they big or are they small? So if you map that, you will then you can actually then benchmark it with your organizational strategy. For that, there is another online course for strategic management. And then you might see that in your portfolio you have too many internal projects and not enough external projects, or in fact all your external projects are somehow outside your link in the value chain that you defined in your strategy you occupy. You might suddenly see that you have too many irrelevant projects, or in fact too few of the projects that you need, let's say, for internal development. Too many externally funded projects, not enough internal projects. And enough is subjective, of course, but applying this project portfolio management technique, it's a good way to manage your organization. And then there is the third challenge. It's how to move from projects to products and services. We're talking about the situation when projects-based organizations have many projects, but in fact they are they don't know how to start putting on the market, selling on the market new products or services where they in fact have competences to deliver. And maybe they already had some examples when potential customers approach them. Think about cultural organization, like let's take an example. It's a festival organizer in Ukraine who've been running a great festival, outdoor festival with ethnic music spin for 5 years. And it's a well-known brand, and there are multiple of those in Ukraine, in fact. So they've been approaching sponsors, getting grants, and every year it's an exercise in order to get the funding, in order to have this festival going. And in fact, when this organization is preparing sponsor proposals or writing grant applications, they might include a certain element, reserve the budget for people, time, in order to develop a service, a curation service for music industry. What I'm talking about is like they know all the great musicians with ethno-spin. They have all the contacts. They know how to arrange a great show. So, and they can sell it as a service. They can offer it to companies who have their corporate events, or even to other festival organizers who would have this block, maybe bigger festival, who would need this block. And they can offer curation services, but they need to put the number, what is the price for this service. They need to actually describe this service, how it would work operationally, or they can actually look about different model when they would offer a service as agents or producers of new up-and-coming musicians, when they would represent them vis-a-vis the distributors, vis-a-vis studios, arrange for music. Maybe there is a gap in this value chain and they want to move there, but again it takes time to figure out what does it mean to be an agent, how much should you charge bands for being their agent, which studios should you work. So it's quite a work. So when this festival organizer runs a festival, why not to include in the budget a certain amount to work out, develop this service, run a pilot, and then actually say after the end of the festival you would have a service that you can offer to potential customers. In fact, grant organizations and programs and even sponsors do like to see that, because they see it as an element of sustainability, financial sustainability of project-based organizations. Because running from project to project, you can do that. Multiple organizations work in dozens of years like that. But in fact, at some stage, it's good to move to this mixed model, when you have certain products and services that people can just buy off the shelf. Yeah? Come and ask you, and you can name the price, we can negotiate, and I can buy your services or products. And continue operating with projects in your projects mode. So we've just looked through these challenges that organizations, cultural organizations, creative enterprises are facing when dealing with projects and products, and we've got some advice and some ways how to look at the project portfolio, how to distinguish your product services from projects, and actually how to convert your projects into products and services. Thank you for watching this course. I hope that you enjoyed it and you learned something new and useful for further work. Please know that there are some additional information, cases and materials and useful links that you can check just below this video. Thank you and bye.